Now, of course, it's the new year, so it's traditionally a time for a bit of out with the old, in with the new. Yet, there's one story that's simply refusing to go away. Of course, it's the trade war. In the latest installment of this seemingly never-ending saga, US President Trump has finally set a date. That's right, that Donald says he'll sign the Phase 1 trade deal with China on January 15th. On Tuesday, Trump tweeted that not only was the signing ceremony set to take place at the White House, but that he also intends to visit Beijing in the near future to hash out Phase 2 of the trade negotiations.
Okay, Josh, for those of us who are still recovering from our New Year celebrations, could you please just slow things down? What's the difference between Phase 1 or 2, and why do we need to know about them?
Okay, so on December the 13th, China and the US agreed to a limited trade deal, basically laying the foundation for an initial deal. This move is likely the first step to solving the trade dispute and sees the two largest economies tackle some of the easier issues first. Then, in subsequent phases, the US and China will attempt to work out more contentious issues. So, the Phase 1 accord consists of 9 chapters on areas critical to trade negotiations, like intellectual property, technology transfers, and financial services. As part of the initiative, both countries have made some important commitments. For instance, the US scrapped plans to slap new tariffs on nearly $160 billion worth of annual imports from China in about mid-December. In return, China pledged to increase purchases of American goods and services by $200 billion from 2017 levels over the next 2 years. The new purchases will include US food, agricultural goods, seafood, energy products, and services. As for details of the Phase 2 deal, well, they haven't been decided yet. A Chinese vice finance minister said the next stage of negotiations will very much depend on the implementation of the first phase.
Okay, and why did you choose this as your top story?
Well, I know that the trade war news is always developing, incrementally, and this update may feel just like a sliver of news, but it's actually a really big deal. In roughly 2 weeks, US and China are taking the first major steps to ending the 18-month trade war that has wreaked havoc on the global economy. And call me a sentimental, but sometimes it is nice to have some good news on the show.
So the end of the beginning or the beginning of the end?
It's still far too early to tell. Just don't say peace in our time.
Well, I love how up-to-date we are quoting British Prime Ministers from 1938.